Good afternoon. Welcome to Containers India Session 3.
Good afternoon, Ram.
So thank you very much for joining us. Today we had two interesting sessions in the forenoon, and now the session 3 talking about South Asia, what is happening in the neighborhood in terms of container trade. So for this, I requested Rohan to moderate this session, and thanks Rohan for accepting and moderating this session. What I'll do is I'll quickly introduce Rohan and then hand over to Rohan to continue the panel discussion. Mr. Rohan Mascarola is the founder member of Singapore Shippers Academy, founder and CEO of Shippers Academy Colombo and Shippers Academy International Australia. He is the consultant to UN International Trade Center ITC Geneva on logistics, and also chairman of the National Export Strategy on Logistics to the Export Development Board of Sri Lanka. He is the Director General of Sri Lanka Association of Manufacturers and Exporters of Rubber Products. Mr. Rohan has also served as the first Secretary General of the Asian Shippers Council, representing 16 countries in Asia. He was a former chairman of the Sri Lanka Shippers Council and Association of Shippers Council of Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan and Sri Lanka. He has a special focus on Indian Ocean trade, logistics, and shipping. So with this introduction, I hand over to Rohan, and I couldn't find a more competent person than Rohan to handle this session because he has insights into all that. And I thank each one of you, Ravi Shankar Sainuji for joining us, Ajit Singh, Upul, Amrul Islam Chaudhary from Bangladesh, and Akshay Bhatia. Thank you very much for joining us. Now over to Rohan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. I'm a little late.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ram. Give me a second. First of all, let me thank you for inviting me for Containers India 2021 Maritime Gateway, and it's a pleasure to get you virtually. Generally, we meet physically in post-COVID Indian subcontinent, how we would be looking at the future. So we have eminent speakers from India, Bangladesh, and Nepal. Let me quickly go through their short introduction. We have Mr. Ajit Kumar Singh. Mr. Ajit Kumar Singh is an officer of 1993 batch from the Border Security Force, BSF. He has been working as Director Operations Land Port Authority of India since August 2020. Before this, he has served as Commandant in BSF. He holds a master's degree in Criminology and Police Administration from Madurai, Amraj University in Madurai. Then we have Mr. Rabi Sanju. I hope I pronounced right.
Yes.
Joint Secretary of Government of Nepal, started civil service of Nepal in 1985 and contributed on preparation of national periodic plans, MDGs, and preparation for national SDGs, macroeconomic model for periodic plan, and gender and macroeconomic policies. Mr. Sanju also served as Joint Secretary in Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Supplies. He had led Nepalese bilateral negotiations team on trade and transit with India, China, Bangladesh, Turkey, and other neighboring countries. He also contributed on trade negotiations with USA, UK, UAE, formulation of laws, regulations, and policies related to trade, transit, and logistics development. He also served as an Executive Director of Nepal International Transport Development Board and National Project Director of Nepal India Regional Trade and Transport Project. Presently, he is engaged in formulation of trade logistics policy as logistics specialist. We have Mr. Upul Jinadasa. He is the Chief Operating Officer of South Asia Gateway Terminal, Port of Colombo, SAGT. He joined SAGT at the very inception in April 1999 as the General Manager, Information Technology. In 2013, he was entrusted with the additional responsibility of managing the operations divisions of the. In October 2017, he relinquished his IT responsibility and continued to focus on full operation service delivery. Prior to joining SAGT in April 1999, Upul has held various ICT positions with local and international organizations, including APL. His ICT operations career spans well over 3 decades, and most of which he has spent in the shipping and ports industry. Then we have Mr. Amirul Islam Chowdhury. Mr. Chowdhury was former president of BAFA and served as senior vice president of BAFA for consecutive 4 terms. He is the founder and the managing director of Intermarine Private Limited, Transmodal Company Limited, and CEO of Transfer Logistics and Distribution. He started his professional career in 1976 as trainee manager with Continental Traders, served for 16 years in both break bulk vessel and container services division. During his professional career, he has represented in several associations. He also joined by Mr. Akshat Bhatia, head of Maersk landside business in South Asia. He has 14 years of work experience across India, Middle East, Africa. He took over his current portfolio in 2018 and currently heads Maersk strategy for railroad and barge business in South Asia. Akshat leads Maersk corridor development and investment strategy for land transportation and intermodal in the subcontinent. Prior to the current role, Akshat was the regional manager for North India in Gujarat and has previously worked as the national sales manager for SME customers and has led various partnerships for Maersk, including the tie-up with Blackbuck for transportation in India. So, welcome, gentlemen. I think we have a good panel here to discuss about the South Asian economies, specifically Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh, and Nepal. So let me start with a few words. I'll keep it short and give the floor to you all. As you know, we trade among South Asia at a very low level. Out of our trade, less than about 4% is traded among ourselves. Although we have a population of 25% of the world, we just have about 4 to 5% of regional trade happening. That's a problem which we must look into. Secondly, we as a region, we are one of the poorest regions in the world in terms of world trade. Also, we are 4% of the global GDP or the global world trade numbers. We are about 4 to 5%, which is again very low. Whereas Asia is known to be the factory of the world, led by China, and of course the ASEAN and the Koreans and the Japanese. So I think it is very much, it was our time before the COVID hit us. South Asia was the fastest growing region in the world, according to many international recognized reports, led by basically India and Bangladesh. And very recently, Bangladesh was identified growing at one of the fastest pace in coming decades too. So the future looks very positive in my own view. In terms of, we have a very young population in the region led by India's large population. The investment climate is getting better. It should get better. And India attracts, I think, within the first 10% or first 10 of the global FDIs, India is one of the players. So we have to be very happy that India is moving forward in terms of FDI. Similarly, the Bangladesh economy is growing well. Other small economies like Sri Lanka and Nepal and Bhutan have had its own problems. But if the region gets up, we will have that potential to grow. We are looking at double-digit growth for some other regions in India. Overall, 8% economic growth for the Indian subcontinent, probably post COVID. Now, what I see is the challenges we face are many. We have to first look in inwards because we are trying to conquer global markets. Global markets are going to change with COVID-19, which we all have already experienced. There's good side of it and there's bad side of it. Good side of it is people are looking at nearshoring, so there might be trade shifts. We already know that there is a huge topic called the trade shifts from China because of the supply chain disruptions that took place at the initial stage of the COVID. And now again, we see that companies are keen to diversify out of China after learning many lessons. So there can be positive attributes to South Asia, which is new investments from other parts of the world. Also, we see countries like Turkey getting support for trade growth because it's proximity to the European Union. So there's going to be severe competition as far as I see in terms of post-COVID international trade. And that competition will not only be led by cheap labor. We should not be very proud of providing cheap labor and having industries. We should be going towards skilled labor, reskilled labor, and labor that attracts technology. So we need to focus on these areas, on the post-COVID area, as far as I think. In terms of the growth in the subcontinent, I would say would reach potential growth levels from India and Bangladesh. Also, I think on our neighbors of Pakistan also probably will come out of its economic boost post-COVID. That is the signals that we are getting. Because we need to build a strong South Asia if we are to attract foreign direct investment. In terms of my own country, Sri Lanka has its own problems, but in terms of shipping, I'm happy to say that we are getting our infrastructure into the levels that we need, and next 3 to 4 years, Sri Lanka will have new capacity built up in containerized business as well as break bulk business. So without further ado, I would like the speakers to give their first round, because we have about 90 minutes, which we have already passed 15 minutes out of it. I would like to invite Mr. Ajit Kumar Singh from India to give his initial remarks, maybe 5 minutes, Mr. Singh, about how you see India from your perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Rohan, and big thanks to you, and a big thanks to the Containers India, who organized this post-pandemic era rebound and refocus theme. I'm seeing that the number of panelists across the border, across our neighboring countries, and I welcome everyone, and my sincere gratitude to all of the panelists from Bangladesh and Nepal, Sri Lanka. So let me start with the theme or the session 3 topics, that is the neighborhood updates, that is South Asian scenario. So I will be restricting and keeping myself with the LPI. What is the role and the work and the development in terms of trades, what LPI is taking in a glimpse and in a short brief, I would like to emphasize on. So let me start with, as you all know, that the India plays a very crucial role, basically central role in trade integration in South Asia, and land-based trade accounts for a negligible share of 1%, I say, of India's total trade with the world. And for information, I just gathered the information, around 40% of the India's total trade with Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Myanmar, and Pakistan takes place via the land border, road route, and 50%. I'm talking about now about the 50% of the India-Bangladesh trade takes place via the land route. 97%, what we perceive and what perceive, we have taken the data about from the Indo-Nepal, that is 90% that takes place on with the land route, and around 76% with the Bhutan. And for your information, for everyone, that is the transaction cost of trading have historically continued to be high in South Asia, primarily because of poor connectivity. And I, being a border security force officer also, I was posted in the remotest border with the country, that is with Bangladesh, Pakistan, and that is there. And I've seen even in Myanmar also border, and there was a very poor connectivity across the borders by land. And the mode of transporting goods was primarily with the land route. So the transaction cost is more. So this was just only a brief about this. What is the role of cross-border trades and data? Now coming to the role of LPI, what basically, if I think most of you are aware about the Land Ports Authority of India. Abbreviation is Land Ports Authority of India, like airport, like seaport and all. So what's happened as part of the efforts to improve the infrastructure at border checkpoints, now India is in the process of developing the integrated check post at some selected checkpoints, selected trade points. You call it land customs stations, LCS, and with us neighboring countries. And it is mainly because for the efficient management of border crossing, not in view of cargo movements, but as well as for the passenger movements. ICP is basically intended to be a one-stop solution. That is, one integrated check post is a one-stop solution that houses up all regulatory agencies like immigration, customs, border guarding forces, plant quarantine, etc. You name it, that all stakeholders at one place. That is for the smooth functioning of the trade and cargo movement as well as the passenger movement. Basically, this LPI is established as a statutory body under the Department of Border Management, that is comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs, and is entrusted the task of building land ports in India on India's borders. Basically, we developed the land buildings of all infrastructure at land borders. And that is not only the simple building we are creating, but it is the state-of-the-art infrastructure we are creating. Given a chance, you can go there and you see some of the, I think, panelists have gone there. If not, by chance, if you get the chance, you go there and see the state of infrastructures coming on the border checkpoints. That is called the ICP, and with the aim to facilitate seamless and efficient movement of cargo and trade transaction. And it's also promote basically the regional trade and people-to-people contact. So now, so far, we are having 23 integrated checkposts, which is designated at ICPs and approved and by the ministry, by the government of India. And out of these 23, 9 ICPs are functional at present. and the 14s are in the process of upgradation. This ICP's upgradation, that is, we call it LCS upgradation. LCS, we are upgrading LCS to ICPs. So as a brief, now Indo-Pakistan border, we are having 2 ICPs, that is functional. And on Indo-Nepal border, we are having 2. Bangladesh, we are having 4. And Indo-Myanmar border, we are having 1. Just name it quickly. I think Pakistan border, I think one is at Punjab, Atari border. If you heard about the Atari Wagah border? And another one is Dera Baba Nanak. Given a chance, you must go. If given a chance, must visit this state-of-the-art infrastructure. It is basically for the pilgrims. Dera Baba Nanak, Kartarpur corridor, we'll call it. In Nepal, I think Rakshal and Jogbani, Viratganj and Birganj, I think the panelist from Nepal, he knows about the 2 ICPs are functional now. And in Indo-Bangladesh, we are having this Agartala, Petrapol in Calcutta, Agartala that is in Tripura, and Srimantapur and Sutarkandi that is in Assam. These are operational, and 1 ICP we are functioning, that is functional at Myanmar border, that is called More. More is one of the, it is a small place at Indo-Myanmar border, that is the Indian side. So these are the functional ICPs and providing all this, all supports and for the seamless movement of trade as well as for the passenger movements. As regard to 14 ICPs are proposed, I will not name out, but I will just figure out the numbers for your knowledge, for information. On Indo-Nepal border, we are going to build 5 ICPs within a span of say 3 to 4 years, and it will be completed. And I think this all under process. So 5 ICPs are there with the Indo-Nepal border, and 8 ICPs on Indo-Bangladesh border. Indo-Bangladesh, there are 8 ICPs, and Indo-Bhutan, there's 1. So their number of ICPs we have proposed, that is 66 ICPs, LCS, 66 LCS we have selected so far, and we are upgrading into ICPs. But presently, the 14 ICPs will be coming, 5 with Nepal, 8 with Bangladesh, and 1 with Bhutan. I think that will be a tremendous cross-border trade development with Indo-Nepal, Indo-Bhutan, Indo-Bangladesh, and so on. So this is basically for the LPI, and just a quick information about the LPI. Since 2012, this ICP, first ICP at Atari was operationalized, and for information, you will just come to know that it was the trade worth rupees 300 to 51 crores across all its operationalized ICPs for the cross-border movement, and about more than 27 lakhs cargo vehicle has been so far has been facilitated by LPI, and rupees 32,746 crores in 2012-13. Now we have come up to 2020-21, that is 95,488 crores. That is the trade benefits, and what is the value in terms? We got it through land borders, and even the important role of LPI has been particularly more pronounced during this post-pandemic era, when the countries in our subcontinents, everything was closed and everywhere were battling with this deadly virus. But the trade across land border was instrumental, I think, to ensure that the vital goods and essential commodities like fuel, medical supplies, and the food grains etc., are delivered across the border through land border through this LPA, and with the aim that the economic activity of both India and its neighboring countries could not be
Mr.
disrupted.
Singh, I will come back to you with the next round.
Okay, thank you.
And we will. I would like to go to Akshat Bhatia, who's from Maersk. Since we are talking of land borders and infrastructure and roads, can you enlighten us of what's going on in terms of the developments that is connecting seaports of India and the big picture that you see post-COVID for the Maersk side of the story?
Rohan, first of all, thank you so much for having us, and thanks to Maritime, Gateway, and all the other panelists. Before I go to that, Rohan, I want to take a minute and just talk about the EXIM scenario. Before, if you don't mind, and I know you're highly proficient. You're a big proponent of global trade. Sri Lanka as a hub, and I was reading your articles where you said a few years ago that the industry will move to an oligopolistic nature by 2030. But of course, now we are actually seeing new entrants as a result of the disruption. So we are actually on the precipice of a lot of change in the industry. Let me just start with Maersk. 30 seconds, quickly break into the EXIM nature of what we see happening in the belt, and then I'll hit upon the land-related challenges. So first of all, it has been a very dynamic year, Rohan. From a pure export perspective, this has probably been the most energizing 8 or 9 months that I think the South Asian countries have seen, at least since I've been in the industry. Starting with Sri Lanka, for example, Maersk is on the cusp of crossing 200,000 TEU in exports, which is something we've never seen before. And this is despite all the challenges that you see, the lack of, let's say, ocean space. Some other liners might have seen, but the fact that it's going to cross 200,000 TEUs, there is interesting developments happening as far as the new terminal and the port development are concerned. Also, Sri Lanka, faster and faster becoming a very important consolidation hub, Rohan, in terms of not just what used to be, but also a lot of the garments, for example, from Bangladesh and India, moving on a sea-air model or an air-sea model. So you're seeing a lot of shift in that sense. And you add to that the digital aspect to it, and Sri Lanka is fast kind of, let me say, enveloping itself around the growth in the region and calling itself a solid transshipment hub. Fair to say that if you look at the congestion waiting times in the US West Coast and other parts of the world, I think we've come out fairly fine as far as South Asia is concerned. Touch wood, it stays like that. And this is, we've had worse scenarios due to weather in the past, and all of them have been overcome this year. So I think kudos to the industry for managing that. Moving into India, demand like never before, mainly from the Western world, but also from agriculture. And now post-monsoon, you will see a lot of more agriculture exports out of India. As Maersk and Zishan spoke about it earlier, we've positioned more than 200,000 containers in India just to meet the export demand. So it just goes to show the importance of India as a country to Maersk and the efforts we are willing to make for that. Of course, supply chains are disrupted and customers are looking for new solutions. And I'm going to talk about that when it comes to cross-border trade in a moment. And then, of course, Bangladesh, it's growing at 11% just for the ready-made garment sector. In the coming years, it's expected to at least keep 12%. There's the news around Patenga coming up. So there's a lot of positive excitement around the industry. And this is despite, perhaps what you might call the power shortages in places in the factories. This is despite the increased cost of cotton imports. So a lot of good work all around to keep the trade flowing. And we've seen only positive upsides through the course of the year after the pandemic has ended. Now coming to land border and cross-border trade, and Ajitji speaks eloquently about what it does, and I'm actually quite a big fan of what they're doing. We recently actually visited ICP Biratnagar as Maersk, and we've set up an acceptance point to facilitate trade through beyond Birganj as the traditional route. And indeed, what he says is absolutely true. It would still be fair to say that infra development around, let's say, the Benapole, Petropole area, some of the other pockets, still need to take shape. There is still congestion during holiday season. Trucks do pile up here and there. However, what the governments of Bangladesh, India, and Nepal are doing is absolutely tremendous. I think they've overcome a lot of challenges with political will in the last year. I would like to believe, and Maersk believes, that despite the fact that the global supply chains have become a bit disruptive. These countries have looked at each other in a very smart way to enable trade. In fact, Bangladesh has risen to be, India has become Bangladesh's fourth largest importer now, which is quite a big increase. We are seeing auto, chemicals, agriculture goods going from here, and ready-made garments, in fact, coming in now in a big way from Bangladesh to India. But what has really been interesting to see is that during the course of all this change, more interesting multimodal ways of doing transportation have opened up. So what, earlier, if you go back in time, if you were based in a factory in Ahmedabad, you were potentially going all the way to Colombo to come back. And today what we're noticing is customers choosing the land route. And sure, the land route has its challenges once in a while, but also inland waterways coming up as a new mechanism for exports. And the river route between Kolkata and Chittagong and Dhaka being really reaping its rewards for those who have invested in there. As Maersk, Rohan, I can just leave you with a couple of thoughts on this. We've into Nepal, we've always been a big proponent. We've had significant market share and led the product development by being the first as far as Birganj was concerned, which significantly reduced the cost of the Nepalese importer by almost 40% as far as detention was concerned. Now we made more inroads there. Into Bangladesh, we are very soon going to launch a barge product as Maersk, which will connect the east coast of India into Dhaka and Pangaon specifically, allowing customers to use this option. So a lot of interesting flavors that are coming to the intra-area trade, Rohan. Of course, there are still some nuances that need to be fixed, Rohan. For example, the border crossings, while they are being developed on some sides, I think the other side still needs to show some sort of fruition in terms of investment. Post-border crossing, there is still certain infrastructural challenges, because at the end of the day, the consignees, for example, in Bangladesh, still need to come to the border and clear the goods and take them to the final mile. But in the larger scheme of things, it's only been positive. The speed of change we've seen in the region has actually been accentuated so that to overcome the existing problems, customers have looked at a myriad of options to ensure that they are exporting. So, however, the input cost, we believe, will continue to increase for all the South Asian countries. The raw material cost, there is a lot of talk around Atmanirbhar and self-reliance, and we see that coming to life. So a lot more near sourcing and near shoring, as you mentioned before, and not just within SAARC, but also with Indonesia, Vietnam, you're seeing a lot more trade as far as agri is concerned. So this will be a changing scenario. If I am a customer in this belt, I am now going to explore digital and technological solutions to my problems. I am going to explore multimodal options to solve my problems. We have recently seen cargo shift between the coast of India to avoid monsoon potential congestion. So these are the trends. And it's not to say that this will be the new flow of cargo. 2 months from now, it will revert to the original flow. But these are the changes that customers now need to adapt to as the supply chain world changes, and to ensure they get access to containers capacity and ability to meet their buyers' demands. I will hold here for now, Rohan. You can go to your other panelists, and then we can, of course, continue from here.
Yeah. Quick question. Post-COVID now, I think India's throughput was about 17 million containers, right?
Yeah.
Is it growing this year, or is it still stagnant at same levels?
Let me put it like this. On exports, it is growing like never before, right? So the government of India has taken a very substantial target, and month on month, they are exporting between $40 to $50 billion, every month, which is a record being hit every month. Imports have definitely slowed down, Rohan.
Right.
This is what's leading to the repositioning of containers and what have you, and even the Far East services via Colombo having to kind of turn around at times. But so the imports might have slowed down, but the exports are as robust as ever and will only grow from here. I would say the same for Bangladesh to a huge extent as well, Rohan.
Thank you very much, I think, for that insight. We can have a dialogue as time comes. So I like to go to Bangladesh straight away. Tell us about what's going on in your country, because we hear a lot of positive news in terms of growth in Bangladesh and the logistics industry's potential to grow at double-digit numbers, which is very encouraging even for us in Sri Lanka. We depend from our transshipment volumes to grow through Bangladesh. So, Mr. Islam Chowdhury, can you brief of what's quickly in 5 minutes, what's the big picture there?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting, to join this, meeting. Well, my preceding speakers spoke many good things about Bangladesh. Well, definitely, the private sector is the engine of growth for this. Like particularly Mr. Akshay and Ajit and others were speaking about border trade between South Asian region. Border trade is not as good because of connectivity between borders between India and Bangladesh, Bangladesh and Nepal, Bangladesh and Myanmar. Maybe Indian side they have upgraded, as Mr. Ajit was articulating, state of the technology, but Bangladesh side is not up to that. Apparently, my reading is that both policymakers and traders, right, other than logistics, they do not understand the importance of the logistics, So no one is focusing to develop the logistics. So in fact, I am a proponent to government and many for us to develop the logistics aspect. As regard to, sea shipments, post-pandemic scenario was bad. Initially the export movement was restricted, but again, the Chittagong port has never stopped functioning. During pandemic scenario, Chittagong port has moved cargo, export and import, everything without any hindrance, without any hiccup, and the goods has moved. Only after this post-pandemic scenario, the congestion, the container non-availability, freight rate, everything has hiked up so much so it is very difficult to cope up with the situation. Like the transshipment ports, as you know, Bangladesh is not a direct shipping port. It has to go either via Colombo, Singapore, Tanjung Palapas. So all these transshipment ports are facing minimum 2 weeks congestion. Apart from that, equipment availability, non-availability is also a deterrent. As in addition to that, on top of that, the freight hike. Where in pre-pandemic scenario, we're shipping a container to Europe, somewhere around $1,300-400 for a 40 or 40 hike job. Now the shipping lines are demanding even $19,000. So imagine the buyers are, though it was all FOB, now buyers are pushing the pressure on the exporters. You pay up this. So they are
Did we lose Mr. Chowdhury?
I'm sorry, possibly the network got disconnected. I was, out of here. So
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Chowdhury.
So this has, though, growth order shifting to Bangladesh as well as the production also is going on smoothly. But again, the imports particularly are.
I think we lost him again, isn't it? Mr. Krishna,
Getting shipment, of course, is the exporters facing difficulty.
Mr. Chowdhury, your line seems to be not okay. Maybe you can, if you can hear me, maybe you can take the video out and put the speaker on. It might work.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hello?
Hello? Hear me?
Yeah, having trouble with net because actually today is a holiday down here. I'm attending from home.
Okay, we understand. Yes.
I'm not staying at home, so I'm not formally attached. Also, net is giving some trouble, so that is one of the reasons. My deliberations could be massively interrupted or hindered. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. It's good that you turned off the video. Then your signal becomes strong, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you. As you understand.
Okay, I think what we will do is, can you facilitate Mr. Krishna? Can you hold on to Mr. Chaudhary? He's on mute. Mr. Chaudhary, you're on mute. Mr. Chaudhary, you're on mute. You're still on mute, Mr. Chaudhary.
Am I unmuted? Hello?
Now I can hear you, but I can see you as muted. Can the others hear Mr. Chaudhary, please?
I have not muted, but it's possibly some automatic. I'm trying to unmute myself.
Okay, you're okay now. You're okay. You're okay.
Sorry, I did not mute it. It was automatically unmuted. Fine, I'm attending from home because of a holiday today, weekend holiday. So from home, Wi-Fi's connection is apparently, disturbing. See, anyway, the scenario is that, as I explained, from the seaside shipment, containerized movement, we are having difficulties. In addition to the air traffic, also, very high freight trade, and later, because pandemic scenario, not enough, belly space of the airlines, and only freighters are moving at a high cost. Those are the challenges, the forward surfing as well as the exporters are facing.
Mr. Chaudhary, if I may intervene, how are the volumes in terms of manufacturing, export, import volumes? Are they remaining the same? Okay, what I'm going to do is, I think Mr. Chaudhary's line is getting interrupted. I'm going to Nepal. Mr. Chaudhary, I'll go to Nepal and get back to you at the next round. Can I have some comments from our speaker from Nepal, Mr. Sanju Rabi, please?
Do you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Rohan. Actually, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me in this program. Although I got the information last night only, so I could not prepare much, but whatever, there is something I have to say on this part. Mr. Rohan has already indicated that interregional trade in the South Asia is very low. I mean, it's less than 4%, definitely. So we are not, there are a lot of problems, and main problem is the connectivity. There is no doubt on that part. And one of the studies, done by UNESCAP, it has already clearly shown that, although it is a little bit old study, it was done in 2018. It has shown that Nepal has exploited, used only 24% of its total potential for the export in the South Asia. Still, the 76% is unused. Besides, that due to this connectivity and some other problems also, the cost of trade is very high in these regions. And one of the studies shown by the UNESCAP and World Bank has shown that the trade cost between Bangladesh and Nepal is 272%. If you see, the Pakistan is 409%. Although, if you compare it with even with the other countries in the Europe, it's Germany only 194%, USA 251%, and UK and 232%. So you can imagine, how much the inter-regional trade cost is so high. So that's why it's not taking place. That is the one thing. So definitely, I mean, Nepal is a landlocked country, and definitely it has a lot of problems in connectivity, and it has to use the India's port, gateway port, or via China. We have to go through it. And previously, for the Delhi, I mean, panelists from India has already indicated that already there is 2 ICPs working in Indian border. That is Biratnagar, and that one is in Birganj. And only Birganj had a railway line connectivity. Although railway connection is already completed in the Biratnagar ICP, but it is not. It is not operational till now. Although I mean, till the ICP, it has I mean, its trial round has already been completed in 2018, but it is lying unused. So definitely, government of Nepal is trying to talk with the Indian counterpart on this part also, and they are using that part so that I mean the trade cost will be lower in that area. That we are thinking on that line also. Definitely, one other ICP in Nepalganj is under construction. One ICP in Bhairwa is still not started construction. It will be started very soon, I think. Besides, one other ICP is also under discussion, that is in the Dwazarstani southeast, in the northern part of western part of Nepal. So after having all these things, these ICPs, definitely, I mean, that will facilitate the trade with the India and within the third country also, that part. And besides, actually, in the MOX, participant from the MOX has already indicated substantial improvement has been we received from after using the electronic cargo tracking system. So we started electronic cargo tracking system for a third country cargo from Visakhapatnam and from this Calcutta also, but still it is still in the trial basis. Although I mean, government of India, CBIC has already promulgated one regulation for that also, but it is used only for import. I mean, not for export from Nepal. That is the main clause. I mean, the effect of that regulation. So we are also requesting, and then for I mean, Nepal is also requesting government of India to regularize it in the export also. And we in 2018, government of Nepal has already shared a letter of exchange, draft letter of exchange, using this electronic cargo tracking system in both in the roads and the railway only. It is only used in the railway now, not in used in the the roads movement. So it is also getting some problem on that. After we use this ECTS in the railway, the timing has substantially decreased. Definitely, it has also decreased the cost also. Previously, there was a long time. Sometimes, I mean, coming from Visakhapatnam, it took almost 3 months also. Now it is taking only 7 to 9 days. From Calcutta, it is taking only 4 to 5 days. And besides, another interesting point is it has substantially decreased the paperwork. Now and previously, I mean, while importing in the gateway port, I mean, Nepal importers has to submit at least 8 kind of different documents. There was almost 30 point of interaction in the gateway port. And there it needs a 22 signature in each documents in the gateway port, including custom and all these things. Now it has reduced substantially. So it has reduced cost also. So if, I mean, this LOEs is signed on the ECT using ECTS both in the railway, export and import, and even in the roadway also, it will definitely decrease the cost. Besides, actually, Nepal has also requested Government of India and share one LOE for 2 additional gateway ports, that is Dhamra and Mundra, because we don't have connection in the western port of India. So if we could, I mean, that LOE is signed, then definitely that will also aggressively reduce the cost, because these 2 ports are private sector ports. They will come aggressively to grab the business of Nepal. I think so. So we are expecting on that part also. So besides, actually, definitely there is another agreement, I mean, amendment in Transit Treaty of Nepal. That is started with the consolidation of the various LOEs that between India and Nepal. It is already finalized. Only the signing of ceremony of it is has not taken place till now. The beauty of these consolidations of LOE is that it will open up use of these inland waterways of India for Nepalese cargo in the Sahabganj, in the near Kanpur, and even the Banaras also, isn't it? 3 these waterways, inland waterways port also Nepal can use. That will also substantially decrease the trade cost. I think I'm expecting on that. And MOX representative has already indicated they have already started, I mean, one station in the Biratnagar. And I come to know that they have also requested to for in the Calcutta, Commissioner of Custom to use ECTS in the roadways also. That is not happening. And so definitely if they were allowed for that, definitely that will decrease the cost. I come to know one of the colleagues from the MOX that it will decrease the cost almost 15,000 per container, I think. So they are informal.
I'll just come in here. So that is indeed correct, because today ECTS works on rail but not on road. So it is something definitely important for us and to break some of the cartels that operate today. But Mr. Sanju, Gaurav also speaks very highly of you.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to elevate one point, between Padmava and Biratnagar, that's the rail link that still needs to be completed for Biratnagar to become a rail point. So we will, I can promise you, will be the first to trial it when it's ready.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just want to highlight here. We had one field visit and study on using this railway line up to the Biratnagar. So, I mean, the railway line up to the ICP is already completed. And we talked to the Ircon people over there, and even in the custom people in the Biratnagar side, Jogbeni side also. They are ready to, use that up to the cargo train up to that part, isn't it? So only, we have to negotiate with the, concerned authorities in the government of India. And if that is allowed, then definitely that will change the whole scenario over there, because whatever, this cargo is moving to Biratnagar side in the eastern part of Nepal, that will come via railway, and that will substantially decrease the cost, isn't it? So
Mr. Rabi, may I intervene? I think we can take our discussions at the next level. We have one more speaker at the first round who might bring in, Mr. Upul Jayanta, sir, from SHGT. Okay, Sri Lanka is the transshipment hub, and we need to get some idea for region how the transshipment have been performing, and Colombo's plans and Colombo's growth. We can get idea from Upul. Upul, over to you. I'll give you about 8 minutes in this round.
Thanks, Ram, and thanks, Ram, and thank you very much for inviting me to join this eminent panelists, and it's my pleasure. The Port of Colombo, I think, went through the most difficult period of our history, the last 19 months or so. And as you know, we currently we have a capacity around 8.5 million TEUs. And then in 2019, we reached the top milestone, 7.2 million TEUs. And in 2020, I mean, the pandemic, that we dropped very marginally by around 5%, and we ended up around 6.98 million. Now, with all these difficulties, we are on our way to achieving the best this year as well. So we are growing, and then we have got our act together, and then we started working, and we realized as a true gateway to Indian subcontinent. And we saw an opportunity when the whole pandemic struck the last part of the year, and we put in a very good plan. And then we got everything under control during the first the wave, and until it hit us bad in the second wave in October. But even with that, I can very proudly say that we were uninterruptedly we were running the port, and with very, very minor disruptions, and then we were able to sustain the volumes and then services to all our esteemed the shipping lines. The leading shipping lines also committed to port, because all the ports around us were facing trouble. So almost all the leading shipping lines were keeping faith in Colombo and then bringing volumes to Colombo. So with all that happening, and then we had to face a lot of challenges, and we are continuing to face a lot of challenges as well. The biggest or the major the challenge being the schedule volatility, and then of course inconsistent arrival patterns. And this is, as some of the speakers also mentioned, there are lots of problems in the Far East, the US and elsewhere, Europe. And then ultimately, as a transshipment hub, it is causing a lot of issues to the port here. And the omissions and the blank sailings also causing a lot of irregular evacuation patterns. We are seeing adverse weather we have never seen before, and then that is also causing a lot of issues here. And inconsistent connectivity with very high volumes, causing a lot of longer dwell times. So that is one of the biggest observations, the post-pandemic observations that we have. And the longer dwell, I don't need not mention that, leading to very heavy yards and with no buffer options. And then sometimes almost all the terminals in Colombo had to go over the physical operational capacity, and then had to deploy ad hoc yard arrangements to cater to the demand. And when the yards are heavy and the quayside and the gates are affected, and then the berth times are extended, and then the productivity is lowered. So that increased the waiting times of the ship. But fortunately, we were able to maintain the waiting time for a few hours in the port of Colombo, even with all these difficulties that we are facing here. And then the increased utilization of equipment. When the berth time is extended and the yard is choked, and then the equipment will be heavily utilized, and then the maintenance plans are affected, and then the breakdowns are also happening. So, and then with all putting together the people factor, and then when people are stretched out too much, and then there is fatigue sets in, and then the people are also is feeling the heat. So if you look at this whole thing, it's a vicious life cycle. But as a terminal operator, we have to manage all this, and then we have also found out certain solutions. Like we have been successful because of those solutions that we have put in place. And so one of the biggest things that what we have worked out is we are working very closely with the stakeholders, and then the predictive planning is what we are employing very much, and we plan for the future, and we engage very closely with the stakeholders. And we get their inputs, and then then of course we know where we are heading, and the collaboration is to the highest level that we are practicing in the port of Colombo. And the resource optimization, both the terminals as well as the ships, that we are working in partnership throughout the conveyance, so that we can achieve mutual benefits. And of course, the COVID-19, it's a dark cloud, but there were some silver linings as well, which forced us to some digital initiatives. So like, the import of Colombo, that a lot of things have been made digital overnight now. So including the complete clearance of import cargo. The digital initiatives that, sometimes that we thought that it is impossible to do, that we were made possible overnight, so that people now believe in them. And what is required going forward now is that so far we have done it well, but going forward also we have to do it, and we have to change our attitudes, and then to face the global reality. And this new normal is going to stay, and then we have to accept that, and then we have to change our attitudes. Build trust among the trade. We have to trust each other, and then enhance discipline, and then ensure compliance, and then collaborate with each other very, very closely. Implement necessary administrative cross-border or the legal frameworks. Prioritize the digitalization options, and then work towards timelines. And of course, the POC is working very rapidly on deploying some of these disruptive technologies, and we are fearlessly moving ahead with that. And the global supply chain, as we discussed, is moving very fast. Of course, it took a dip, but now it is rebounding and then going into a major pace. And then in the past that we have discussed the last 2-3 decades, that the globalization as the major phenomenon, which the pandemic disrupted that. And now the advent of the new transport solutions, and also the technology which connected the trading centers together, which made that enable the globalization. And digitalization also was birth because of the globalization, and digitalization also is now moving at a very, very high, faster pace. The technology is advancing very, very fast, and then making it very, very affordable, and which is changing our lifestyles as well. And then these days, definitely that all of us, whether knowingly or unknowingly, we are becoming digital wizards. I don't think that we can find anyone who is not addicted to a smartphone anyway in this part of the world now. You see now some of the trading sectors are getting disrupted, like the airline ticketing, but the shipping also is feeling that now. And then some of the markets, you see the online bookings outnumber the manual bookings. So the people are also shifting towards the virtual reality. And then some of the speakers mentioned that the nearshoring, the 3D printing is now gaining momentum. And then when it goes into the real the levels, like it will reverse the flow of goods. The raw material will the trade more, and then the finished goods will be nearshored. And then the novel IT concepts such as like the blockchain based and internet cloud based technologies are emerging, and then the collaborative platforms. So all the terminals and stakeholders will adopt that kind of technology for collaborative purposes. And then as terminals, we are deploying heavily the IoT and the AI, and then we are using AR technologies, the VR technologies, and all that for simulation purposes. And then simply because that the demand for speed, the need for speed and the accuracy is going to grow. So it's very difficult for us to sustain and then service those demands and then the accuracy in a manual way with this kind of post-pandemic era. So the automation is another focus. Like there are a lot of technologies have emerged and which have become very, very affordable. And then based on your business models, there will be lots of technological developments and the deployment of specific technologies in the ports which will happen. And then the Colombo is leading the way. So, like now the entire, the terminal operation, the concept or the footprint will change in the next 2-3 years. And there'll be lots of digitization and then lots of automation complemented with specific speed and the service levels offered to customers. In the interest of time, Rohan, I will stop at this and then I'll take any questions further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Upul. I think, you gave a very good brief on touching on to technology also, which I was going to bring in at the next level. We have about 25 minutes more. I would like to open up the dialogue by saying that, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm told the region South Asia, according to Druvi, the current throughput of total South Asia is about 30 million containers, and that they are forecasting it to be 87 million by 2024. I saw the Druvi's terminal report for 2020. Given this development in container ports infrastructure, do we see enough capacity coming into the South Asian region? Can I start with Upul itself, who finished there on this question?
Yes, Rohan, now, as we know, the Colombo is on a aggressive expansion plan at the moment. So that there are two major terminals which are going to come up within the next 2-3 years. So which will add, now currently we have about 8.5 million TEU capacity. So we are utilizing about say 85% at the moment. And then with that, there'll be about say 6.5 to 7 million added within the next 2-3 years. So by 2025, hopeful that we will have about say 15 million capacity in the port of Colombo, out of which about say 65 to 70% are the deep draft. Yeah, the ULCC capacity. So I think they are on the way, and there are further developments which are going to come in. So the next the 5 to 10 years, we will see that the POC, the capacity will grow further.
Thanks. Abhishek, Bhatia, would you like to comment on that? My question and now growth.
So I think Upulji has commented very well on the Sri Lanka aspect, right? And I think there is, of course, the geopolitical aspect, but he's best placed to answer that. I'll speak more from a India and Bangladesh perspective now.
Yeah.
I think the silver lining, first of all, is that a lot of investment is happening in two fronts. You're seeing ports and terminals develop on the east coast of India, which is fabulous because it is from a container shipping perspective relatively underdeveloped. So while you still have Visakhapatnam, you have Ennore, Katupalli, I can go on. Krishnapatnam came in, Katupalli is there, but you still have a larger coastline to serve. So Dhamra and a lot of the coal bulk container, the ports getting converted now to containerization berths. So you will see a lot more development happening on that front, and it's fair to say that the speed of infra development there definitely surpasses the current input-output demand in that belt, also in line with the connectivity to Nepal, Bhutan, and other parts. When it comes to the West Coast, it's very interesting. Now, the Indian government is, of course, forecasted 400 billion. They are well on track to hit that, perhaps even go half a trillion in the coming years. And for that, they're investing heavily on the dedicated freight corridors, new export zones, multimodal logistics parks. So you will see a lot more advent of a lot more supply from these parts of the nation. What this will mean is a lot of requirement for outbound capacity at the terminals. As it stands, there is an additional terminal being added at Navasheva, which definitely caters very well to the dedicated freight corridor and the central West India belt. However, when it comes to North India, we are seeing a lot more demand for outgoing cargo than we have historically seen. In fact, Mundra is growing at a very, very fast pace, and not just westbound but also eastbound. So there is definitely a need to invest a lot there. We believe that the port operator is doing a tremendous job in the way they've displayed growth, but there is absolutely no doubt that demand will continue and the infra will have to keep pace with it. However, infra actually needs to keep a lot more pace with the landside activities, if you ask me, Rohan, including development of the multimodal logistics parks. And then you come to Bangladesh, where you've got Mongla now, and now Patenga coming up. These should significantly help ease the congestion. And when you ease the congestion, it means faster turnaround of ships within the South Asian region. It means that the berths at Colombo get freed up for ships from all over the world. More transshipment happens at Colombo, and you see basically a much faster developing container region. So the signs are positive. The East India development is definitely welcome. Definitely North and West need a lot more speed of change. The landside development, which is outlined, needs to be put into focus. And then, of course, Bangladesh has a lot of plans to overcome the current Chittagong issues. Just one aspect, Rohan, in all of this is something that came to me as a question prior to this session, which was the BBIN network. And somebody referred to it, Sahibganj, etc. But these multimodal logistics parks around the inland waterways, I think we need to, of course, the cost of steel has gone up, which has led to the barges becoming more expensive. So it will delay the projects. Steel has gone up 5 times. So it's well understood. But the more we invest here, the more the governments take the lead, give rebates, some sort of discounts to traders to move here, will also help ease some of the traffic and flow. But you are absolutely right. The numbers you're showing, 30 million to 87, will need a lot of willpower and investment in the coming years. And that should only be looked at as a positive sign from where the baseline is, Rohan.
Thank you very much. I would like to go to Mr. Islam. I hope his line is now clear. I would like to get an update from your side about how the ports and the infrastructure is developing? Are there a lot of public-private partnerships happening in Bangladesh in terms of infrastructure? Mr. Islam, any comments on the infrastructure side from you?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rohan. Well, I'd like to update you. Chittagong Port Authority has undertaken to build a new terminal called Bay Terminal. It's the other side of the Chittagong current port, with a pier capacity of 6 meters length, and we are approximately to accommodate between 15 to 20 vessels, in the berth. This will be a relatively better draft, better suited for, and particularly these are just adjoining to the sea. Currently, the vessels needs to wait in the outer anchorage for, bringing the vessel to berth after when the tide is, high. But this berth will be adjoining to the sea, can berth directly from the sea to the pier, and with a draft of around 12 meters compared to current Chittagong Port draft of around highest is 9.5, between 9 to 9.5 meters. And this Bay Terminal is estimated with building capacity of 4.5 million TEUs by 2025. On the other hand, there is another port which is near Cox's Bazar, around say 80 odd kilometers from Chittagong. That's called Matarbari, where there is a bulk ship for coal handling, as well as there is planning to build a container terminal as well, 3-berth container terminal, which is expected to complete by 2024, and Bay Terminal is expected to complete by 2025. So both this combined is expected around to build a additional capacity of say around between 5 to 5.5 million TEUs within 2025. That is the update. But again, we are having the point is this basic port infrastructure is big, but not the backward linkage, the connectivity part. There the lacuna is there. Like particularly this South Asian region connectivity, like in fact during the beginning of the pandemic, I was in Assam in 2019. I had some discussion with some of the exporters there, and down here I had some good friends of imports. They were planning to get some goods from agro products from Assam to Bangladesh. But all this from Assam it has to go all the way to Hilli. It's a long way by trucking. Whether Assam to Sylhet, the mobile area is very closer. Some around, I think, 50, 60 kilometers. Whereas you have to go all the way, some almost 1,000 plus kilometers. So the connectivity, and one point I've heard from Indian side, I don't know the truth about it, there the logistics operator was saying there are some rent seekers. When the trucks moves to Hilli on the other side of Indian side, Bangladesh side is Hilli, I don't recall the name of the Indian side border. There are some rent seekers, from the truckers, they get money, all these things. That increase the cost. In addition to that, from Hilli to other hinterland part of the Bangladesh, that road is not suitable. Very narrow road, not to allow heavy truck movement from there. These are the, one of the problems. Again, Akhaura is not also, from Akhaura border to hinterland is not suitable. There is another one is Ramgarh in Tripura. That is also road connectivity is not. Ramgarh to Chittagong is okay, but up to Ramgarh, the main highway, the connectivity is not that good. So this needs to be the connectivity, hinterland connectivity needs to be upgraded to facilitate movement of traffic, particularly in border side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Islam. Thank you very much. I think, so what you're trying to say is the ports are getting its capacity and to reduce congestion. That's what I'm reading, but you're worried about the logistics capabilities for inland transportation and waterways. which you focus on. That's what I understand. I think I would go to Mr. Ravi in Nepal before.
May I add up another point?
Yes,
Again,
please.
Sorry. Like, in earlier session, there was certain discussion on ICD and CFS. Bangladesh government has drawn the policy of ICDs, not of independent CFS. So particularly for us, we are not allowed to have our own CFS. I have to go to the ICD. They are having a monopoly in Bangladesh, some 18 or 19 ICDs. So, but functional is around 14. So they have a monopoly. They price their own prices. So we cannot. Eventually, the customers not getting the benefit of it. Had we had although had their own CFSs, big or small, this could have facilitated the smooth and seamless movement of goods as well as reduce the cost because of competition and other things. There we are lacking. I have tried to propagate to I took it up with government authorities, but the bureaucracy is bureaucracy. Sorry, my apologies to say something, very difficult, very difficult.
I understand. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Islam. Mr. Ravi, I think we have about 12 minutes to finish up. So I would.
Mr. Rohan, can you speak something?
I think I'm giving you the floor to wrap up the session. So maybe I get a few comments from Mr. Ravi and then come to you.
So nice. Thank you.
Mr. Ravi, on mute.
Do you hear me now?
Yes. If you can summarize about the infrastructure, Mr. Ravi.
Definitely. No, definitely. I mean, I just want to put two things here. Recently, definitely with the Bangladesh, we have one new amendment that is in the transit treaty. So the Rohanpur-Siamabad railway line is also open for Nepal by India, isn't it? So that will also, optionalizing this line also, definitely develop a connectivity with the Bangladesh. I'm thinking on that line also. Besides, actually, if you know, recently, Government of India and Nepal has amended the railway service agreement between the two countries. And this is a very, positive development has taken place because it has opened up, because previously only the container, there is monopoly of, only the government container corporation of India, actually. So now even the private sector operator can also serve in Nepal. And recently, Hind Terminal has already captured some these containers from Calcutta to Birganj, and other operators are also trying on that part. So besides, not only in that Birganj, but they are also trying to see using the multimodal facility in the other part of the Nepal also. That is the good sign, and from the point of view of logistic development. And another things I just want to highlight, Nepal is preparing, formulating the comprehensive logistic policy. This is the first time Nepal is preparing. It is in the final stage now, and the main focus of this logistic policy is definitely in the infrastructure development, coordination in the infrastructure development, road and even the ICP, ICDs and all these things. And besides, definitely the another focus is on the supply chain management within the country itself and the internal distribution system and all these things. And another is the governance part. So definitely, once this policy, government endorse this policy, definitely that will be the big shift is going to take place in the logistic front. I think I'm thinking on that line. So I'm also involved on that part. We are also developing the digitization part and all these things. And besides, we are also trying to develop one logistic portal also. There is already the trade portal we have, and we are extending it to accommodate the logistic part also in that part. So that is the new development that Nepal is going to have. And I think, I mean, this will definitely change the logistic scenario here in Nepal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ravi. Mr. Singh, it's the floor is. I think you have about 5 minutes before I have to close the session.
Very quick updates. I heard all the panelists, especially Mr. Ravi, Mr. Upul, and Mr. Akshit, as well as the Bangladesh counterpart, Mr. Amiral. So let me start with the updates with the Nepal, Mr. Ravi. I think as regards to the rail connectivity and all, LPI is in the process of now we are preparing the DPR, that is, and even for the RFP and PMC for establishing railway siding at ICP Petrapol and basically ICP Raxol and Jogbani. So I think it will be great help for the trade within the Indo and Nepal side. And I heard about you have done the Nepal has recently launched a digital portal. So let me update you all that what LPI is taking initiative for augmenting infrastructure as well as digitalization. So first of all, just very quick, as I already said earlier, we have conducted a study to identify the gaps in infrastructure at the restricting land custom station, and we have earmarked 66 LCS, and we have already forwarded a proposal of 66 LCS to upgrade into ICP, and you have already sent it to ministry. So one, and we are launching, even we have already launched, we are in the process of upgrading one full body truck scanner. It is a costly equipment, but we are trying to get it as early as possible because we have got the clearance from ministry, and we are trying to put it into use with all the functional ICPs. So full body truck scanners is a costly equipment. And for your information to all, that's at Petrapol, as Mr. Akshat was telling, that the infrastructure at Benapol, Petrapol, because there's a lot of congestion. And I visited thrice at Petrapol, and I saw, and we have a meeting for your information today. Yesterday was a meeting with the shipping ministry, with the Bangladesh, as well as Mr. Ravi. I think today was the meeting with Indo-Nepal, discussion with some issues with the Indo-Nepal in Ministry of Commerce. So all this, the issues were discussed. So as regard to the Petrapol, we have developed a parking space, additional parking space. Earlier it was the parking space of 600. It was now and we have extended it to 1100 plus odd vehicle can park at one time. And even at Petrapol, we have established, just created or just constructed even a very good infrastructure, that is passenger terminal building, and passenger terminal building 1 and passenger terminal building 2, that is coming in the month of April 22. And Mr. Amiral, you must, it will be appreciated by everyone if you will see and visit to Petrapol. So the connectivity will be there and the passenger movement will be there, because there are a lot of passengers come from Bangladesh to India, to Calcutta, even go to Chennai and go to Delhi and all. So one issue was this, and we have initiated 2 studies also. One is on time release, to measure the actual time required for to release and clearance of the goods, the cargo goods, and that is one study. And the second one is the infrastructural gaps, to identify the infrastructural gap at all these operational ICPs. And like Mr. Ravi has told, that they have developed the digital portal. Now for information, LPI has initiated to design and implement land port management system. Just a few seconds, land port management, what is the concept of land port management system. It will be a integrated platform for all stakeholders at ICP, and it will multiple provision includes vehicle parking. All it will be all digitalized. Vehicle right from vehicle tracking, slot management, 24/7 operation, availability, data analysis, everything, disaster recovery, extra everything will be one this LPMS system, and that will be implemented in all the 9 ICPs, and we have already processes, and in the coming hopefully in this year or the next year in the mid session up to month of June, and so all ICP will be this having this LPMS system. And now we also upgrading our this mechanized cargo handling equipments, because we have already given the manual handlings are there, but we've already given this forklifts, wave bridges, hydra canes, etc. But now we're identifying the gaps for facilitating this the mechanized cargo handling equipment is all ICP. So network connectivity is another initiative we are taking, and automation of everything. And one more thing, that is access control. We have already floated one RFP for access control, and it is going to be everywhere. So automation, the LPMS, the network connectivity, and say the mechanization of cargo, everything will be at place. So it will be convenient for everyone, and so I hope that trade will enhance a lot in coming years, and it will be implemented within 1 year. I think all this thing, LPA is doing a lot of things on LPM and on ICPs on Nepal and Bangladesh side, even in Bhutan and Myanmar.
Okay, thank you.
May I?
Thank you for the update. Yeah,
May I,
quickly,
Mr. Rohan?
yeah, quickly, yes. We have about a minute. Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Ajit, for his update about the Indian side. But again, the other side, so I don't know about Nepal or Myanmar or Bhutan, but again, Bangladesh side, as he requested me to visit Petropol. So far, I haven't been there, but again, I know about it. The Benapol or any other part of the Bangladesh side, the other side is developed, but the reverse side is not developed. In order to coordinate development, the cargo or passenger, the facilities is not there. It has to be in the both sides. This is my point. Could I make my point clear? Thank you.
Yeah, very clear. Very clear.
May I just, Mr. Abdul, I think we have just on the 17th of September, we have inaugurated, your minister was also there, Minister of Transport of Bangladesh, and as well as our ministry, MHA, Ministry of Home. They were there, and we have inaugurated a very huge passenger terminal building for facilitating passenger movements. And for your information, I think in Petropol, we have asked for second gate. There was a meeting also. We have met yesterday. I was with Chairman Bangladesh Land Port Authority. He came to our office, and he was a meeting yesterday with the shipping ministry, and it was a chance that we have a talk with Bangladesh Land Port Authority, and even with the Chittagong Port Authority. Was an additional secretary was there, and whatever this the discussion was going on, like the mirror effect, the mirror image of our infrastructure that should be there, and we have already sounded, and even Bangladesh are doing it. We have like at Bibir Bazaar, we are having at Srimantapur, Sabroom. It is going to be a multimodal logistic hub that is connecting Ramgarh and your Ramgarh up to Chittagong. So I don't think, because we are developing infrastructure in a very speedy manner, and we have talked like developing Ramgarh, because as you know that Maitri Bridge has already been inaugurated by both the prime ministers, but till date the Ramgarh side, they have not given clearance, they have not acquired the land also. So they're just going to acquire the land, and how much time it will take, God knows. But these are the challenges there in Bangladesh side. I think we have 4 ICPs in Tripura only. Shabrom, Srimantapur, Nishinpur, one is rail linking is connecting, that is in the just adjacent to Akhora, and one is Akhora, that is Agartala.
One is possibly Bilonia.
Bilonia is coming up, I think. Bilonia is coming, and but it is 4 are already come up, and Sabroom will be come up in the next year almost. So Ramgarh should be developed accordingly, and we are coordinated. I think we have already sounding the Bangladesh Land Port Authority, and is going to be a meeting is going to be happening, and we conduct the subgroup infrastructure meeting every.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. I think we have come to the time limit that we have been allocated by the organizers. So I think we have a lot to discuss. When I realized that when we get together, there is so much chat around and understand each other. Maybe Gateway can organize a bilateral one with Bangladesh and India on the. Yes. Let me sum up by what I discussed today is that South Asia, we all recognize that we need to move a lot in terms of infrastructure, digitalization, skills development, because the world is way ahead of us, and we as a region has a lot of potential to get in investors, especially after the COVID-19. We are talking of a subject that how the world will be reshaped with COVID-19. That is where South Asia has its opportunities, but if we do the things right in the right manner very fast, probably we will have prosperity brought into our people. End of the day, what we are talking is about prosperity to our nations. So in terms of the maritime industry, I think it's promising. We can see the potential developments in India, Bangladesh, and also inland destinations, connectivity being looked at by all governments, which is important, bringing down the cost of transportation. And I agree with the rest of the speakers that logistics is not properly understood by many. We talk about with ports and shipping, but beyond the ports and shipping, the rest of efficiency of logistics, we need to work together, I think, in developing trade and also trade facilitation. We need, Sri Lanka being an island, of course, we are not connected by any land to the Indian subcontinent. We rely on your productivity and developments to increase transshipment via Port of Colombo. So we look at our regional countries as our good customers. I think Uppal will agree with me. That growth is important for us as well, for that regional unity and facilitate inter-regional trade. So I think this topic of South Asia has to be more and more discussed. We have to bring into more people to understand each other's problems. I can see the conversation of Bangladesh, Nepal, and India corridors having various issues to be sorted out in terms of connectivity. I think that is a challenge that these 3 countries, along with Pakistan, will have to develop trade. In terms of ocean, I can see the infrastructure. I'm happy that infrastructure projects have been taken seriously, and international partners like Maersk are partners of development in this region, which will help the region to bring in more best practices in terms of maritime related logistics and infrastructure. So let me thank all of you, the gentlemen who have taken time today to join us with this very enlightening discussion. Mr. Kumar Singh from India, Mr. Rabi from Nepal, Mr. Puljinadasa from Sri Lanka, Mr. Islam from Bangladesh, and of course, Mr. Bhatia from Maersk India for joining. And I hope we had a productive session to understand each other. And thank you again from my side. And thank you for Gateway Media, Maritime Gateway, for inviting me to moderate this session. And I would like to hand over the proceedings to Mr. Ramprasad.
Thank you very much, Rohan. I do not want to get into the discussion part of it because you have summarized. Every speaker on this panel has contributed so much inputs into South Asia. Let me tell you that me and Rohan have been so passionate about South Asia. In fact, we have started a South Asia Shipping and Logistics Forum and did a major conference in India as well as in Bangladesh. And subsequently, we had one India and Nepal Logistics Forum, did pre-pandemic period. And I think Ravi Shankar Sainju was also a speaker there at that forum. It is only to reiterate, and SAGT has been a supporting partner in all these South Asia initiatives and Containers India initiatives. So the bottom line is that we have been inviting panelists from across these sectors, across these nations, only to discuss all these bottlenecks. And I see progress happening. The debate is not in vain that we have seen in the last few years that things have been, issues have been ironed out. Of course, though it may take time, but at least even the governments also have been very proactive, and industry has been contributing to the dialogue. We should continue to keep discussing all these issues, and then hopefully one day, in the previous session we were thinking about, because in the mornings when we showed the statistics of container growth, South Asia in 2021 figures in the pandemic, 40% growth rate compared to any other region, whether North America or Europe or even the whole world put together. So South Asia has a lot of potential, and collectively all our nations should work towards removing these bottlenecks, and cross-border trade happens smoothly. With that, I thank all of you, especially Rohan, for conducting this panel discussion in an excellent manner, bringing in all the speakers on board. Thank you, Ajit Singh Ji. LPI has been with us in the last two forums as well. And my special thanks to Ravi Shankar Sainju Ji. As he mentioned, it was a last-minute request to him because of a speaker dropped out due to sudden health issues. Then last minute we requested him, and thank you so much for accepting and being on board. And of course, Upul Janadasadi, thank you very much for not only coming on board, supporting this initiative. Thank you very much. With this,
let me thanks to Mr. Rohan and as well as Mr. Satish, because it was the first interaction with all the panelists as well as with you also. Though this LPI was having a very good, I think, the relation with the Containers India with your, and as per your request, because why I am just extending my thanks, because it is the first time I am interacting with, because my field is something different, and now I have come into this field. So I am extremely thankful to you, and I'm thankful to LPI chairman also, because because he was not having time, and today was a very busy day. I think I was with the Bangladesh Land Port Authority chairman. Yesterday was the shipping ministry. I was with the chairman and the meeting also. So it was totally packed today. That's why I was telling Mr. Satish that give me some time, and I'm really thankful. Such a nice forum, such a insight given by Mr. Rohan and all the panelists, Mr. Rafi, Mr. Upal, Mr. Amiral, and Mr. Akshay. Oh, nice. And once again, a lot of thanks. Thanks a lot. We'll meet again.
Thank you.
So nice.
Also, my special thanks to Amirul Islam Chowdhury from Bangladesh. So kind of you for joining us, sir.
Ravi, nice to see you after long, you know.
Yeah.
Last week we met in Guwahati or in Dhaka?
Guwahati we met prior to that in Dhaka. Yes.
Right. And again, visiting you are also Guwahati again. Twice in Guwahati. Apart from Delhi and other places.
We have been just waiting, sir. We wanted to visit Colombo, Kathmandu and Dhaka soon. So hope to see you soon. Thank you very much once again. And with these concluding remarks, I end this session, as well as thanks to all the participants who have been logged in since morning. And Rohan wants to say something. Bye.
Thank you.
You are on mute. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you.